I met many people who think that the movement Indignados, it works as a movement of flames, so it appears on the streets from time to time. It can gather a lot of people on demonstrations, 500,000, almost 1 million in Madrid or in Barcelona, but people in Poland, I have a feeling, don't exactly are aware or informed about the day-by-day work of the movement.
The day-by-day of the movement, it depends on the decisions of our government, no? Sometimes I say that the best things that could happen in Spain is that our president is for the right-wing side, because it's the best revolutionary to motivate us to continue working. No? The 14th strike in Spain was first organized by the traditional trade unions, UGT and CCOO. Then the movement, the social movement, decided to join this day and to create what we call a critic bloc. That is a group of people that demonstrated this day, but also vindicating different things. At the end of the strikes, we have seen, for example, in Madrid, how people were playing music and cars of police coming and trying to beat people in this place. This is the answer of the government to the people, to use the violence, and this is unfortunately what arrives here through the media. Because we don't have to forget that we are trying to create our alternative, but we are not that much powerful in amount of people or the people that we can reach, like the mass media. No?
Since 2007, since now, we were aware that organizing a protest, organizing a resistance only at the national level is completely powerless. Okay. This is after 4 years we saw exactly that. So we are now this year, what happened last week with this general strike, make a really new turning point, new step, because we are really aware that the national space is, they are very different for each other, but just alone, just ourselves will not enough for this kind of level. The common words that slogan that we used for that strike was "Occupy the strike." What does it mean? That means that we think that the practice of strike, it doesn't belong only to the union, okay, but it belongs also to very all the people are able to make this strike. Also, unemployed people are able to make strike. So we'll develop this kind of practices, like to occupy street, to forbidden the circulation, to block the circulation of the cities during that days, and to generalize this strike.
Of course, Ukraine is outside EU, and the situation and the main political and ideological antagonisms that we are facing in Ukraine now are somehow completely different. Of course, we also experienced and still are experiencing the crisis, but still it has different consequences to us. This antagonism that we have now had no official representation. I mean that this antagonism wasn't present on the state level. It was only on some social underground level. So like everybody understood it very well, but it had no political representation. And now we see that this protest dimension, I think that we have a lot of in common here with Poland. This Protestant dimension is exploited and is used mostly by far right, and that's why there can be such an illusion that our countries are sleeping, but in fact, more than a week ago, there was a big march, neo-Nazi march, the biggest one in Europe, in Warsaw, like on the Independence Day of Poland, as you know better than me maybe. So I mean that it's also the political problems that we are facing, that we are fighting and trying to deal with not only the system, the capitalist order, or like new financial order with crisis and so on, but apart from that, besides from that, we also have very direct and real and material political enemy.
To what degree there is a desire for real transformation, or is it a stop austerity, only stop austerity? For example, this term alternative in Britain, the trade unions march under the word, alternative, which is simply invest in employment.
The resistance is every time something that is positive, is every time something that that is a creative act to resist. It's not something that is passive. And the only way to resist and to stop is to set up a new process, new alternative. And in that sense, I mean, the strike was of last week was just an episode. But what really interesting, because it really connected different country, different moment. Is very singularity. Really. But what is very important is what is happened before and after the strike. This is what is really matter in this strike. For instance, what is going on nowadays in Greece, I think the most important experiment that they are doing is that they are trying to self-manage hospital. They have occupied hospital, they have occupied clinic, and they are trying to self-manage this kind of welfare. Okay, and when this is a kind of resistance, because it was just a resistance against cuts. Okay, the government cuts the money and the funding of these places, and the people answering, self-managing these processes. Okay, and doing this kind of self-managing, they reinvented this relation of service. When a doctor made a diagnosis, every time the doctor must be together with just people. Okay, so they have to share the knowledge. This means that the clinical knowledge will be shared, and everyone is able to make a diagnosis at a certain level. Of course, this means that you don't need to learn or to study to be a doctor. This not this point, but they are sharing knowledge. They are also sharing this figure of doctors, and also they have to discuss the cure adapted for a patient, and the cure becomes something that is not related to medicine or something related to this kind of stuff, but is becoming something related to society, to the socialization of life. So I think this is a very interesting point, really advanced, through which alternative resistance are taking place.
Well, I wonder, what does it mean to take a positive step in the meaning a positive step of being an occupier in the daily life? I'm not thinking about, I would say, leaders, people who are organizing, who are really involved, but I think about people who live a life like me, going to university, doing some foundation job. And what does it mean? What kind of state of mind is it to be an occupier on daily basis?
In Rome, occupy for us has a meaning, for instance, to rethinking the way through which the university has to work. The student in Rome use this occupy courses, and they reinvented the way through which university is working. So is this seem how this the effect of this way of living institution in that way means at the same time reinventing a new form of institution. This means new rules, a new way of living together. The educational process is becoming a political subjectivation, okay? Because they are using this service and transforming this service into service relations. This means it's becoming a transformer. What is the consumer and what is the providers? But this relation between consumer and providers become a relation to which they have they could transform the place where they are living.
Would you say that Spain's biggest problem is unemployment?
The main problem is to convert the private debt into public, and now we have to pay through the austerity measures this debt. Then there are no perspective of new employments in Spain, and the people is really specialized. I mean, we have a lot of young people from Spain that they have to leave the country to get a job. People with degrees, with doctorates, with a lot of studies. And we have people that they got not that much specializations that arrive to the country and they have to leave.
It's the same in every country when you look at it. But however, in Spain right now it's very high, and it wasn't always like that. So in your case, it grew very rapidly. If the rate of unemployment wasn't so high, probably not so many people have the first thought of joining a movement, becoming an activist.
The 55% of the young people has no job right now.
So again, maybe the best countermeasure would be to like a national urge to create jobs.
Where we get the money from?
I mean, when Paolo, you said you protest against austerity. Did you have in mind austerity measures in general, or just their degree?
Austerity have a different phases. Okay, there's different layer, and I think I mean the unemployment is a case and the effect at the same time.
Because maybe for once you could. And maybe that's already in your protest, that some of the austerity measures, like half or I don't know, some part, could be changed from taking from people and increasing the debt into sort of more creating jobs.
The problem is not that you don't have a job. The problem is you don't have a future. You can imagine your future. This is the problem.
It's only the question of time when Poland, because still in Poland, you don't have such on a strong scale, such a process as proletarization of the middle class. Because middle class is a kind of object of fetishism today, yeah? Like it's a main object, for masturbation of contemporary ideology. And everybody is like honoring middle class because it's everything we have. Yeah? It's like our guarantee from poverty. It's like a mask, we are hiding our problems behind this absolute ideological notion. And we are not, it's the middle class who is rising up in these countries, because they are losing all they have. And it's not because they are leftists, not because, it's only the question is here, which force will be prepared enough and will be strong enough to be on the top of the wave of the protest, to stay with this protest and somehow to handle the problems. Because it could be that, as I have said, the far right could be these guys who are running this stuff. And maybe, if it, for example, happened in Poland, it could be O NR or Młodzież Wszechpolska. It's absolutely easy. Like in a very big chance in Ukraine, it would be Freedom Party, of course. Because it's now these forces in our part of Europe that are dealing with this social activism, with this kind of social networking.
All of a sudden I begin to wonder how neo-fascists connect with debt, or is there any place where they connect? Because these two subjects seem to stand apart from each other, but perhaps they are connected.
Every revolutionary chance that is lost, the first result of this is far right, is fascism. The more chances we are losing, the more power to the far right is coming. So I mean, in some sense, it's not far right that is gaining more power, but it's the leftists who are like stepping back and back, who are losing the fields of battle. on which they should be present, and to propose really radical leftist projects, political projects. That is happening now in Italy and Spain, luckily.
Thank you very much. Thank you.